Fellow citizens, nationals, and residents, today, 8th March, is International Women's Day. It is a day where individuals, groups, and organizations across the world acknowledge and raise awareness of the role of women in global development. The Federation of St. Kitts and Nevis joins the global observance to commemorate and celebrate the contributions of women to the growth and prosperity of our nation. The theme for this year is Gender Equality Today for a Sustainable Tomorrow. Countries have also been encouraged to promote the campaign theme, #BreakTheBias. The theme is timely, given the interconnected global economic and environmental challenges of recent times, further exacerbated by the current COVID-19 pandemic. Gender equality refers to equal rights. It refers to the responsibilities and opportunities of males and females, irrespective of their sex. But it is important to note that Sustainable Development Goal number 5 declares that gender equality is not only a fundamental human right, but a necessary foundation for a peaceful, prosperous, and sustainable world. It is not a woman's issue, but a human rights issue which fully engages both men and women. This year's theme focuses on the contributions of women and girls in building a more sustainable future for all, particularly in the areas of climate change adaptation, mitigation, and response. The theme is also aligned with the priority theme of the forthcoming 66th session of the Commission on the Status of Women. That commission speaks to achieving gender equality and the empowerment of all women and girls in the context of climate change, environmental and disaster risk reduction policies, and programs. Meanwhile, the campaign theme, #BreakTheBias, provides us with opportunities to recognize, to speak up, and actively advocate against gender biases and ingrained stereotypes, those that influence our social norms and our way of life. Gender is a social construct that differs from the definition of sex, which refers to the biological and physiological features that distinguish males and females. In fact, gender refers to the roles, behaviors, activities, and attributes that a society at a given time considers appropriate for men and women. Stereotypes are often used to justify gender discrimination and are reinforced by deep-rooted cultural beliefs, by traditions and practices which can exclude women from participating in the decision-making processes. Sociology teaches us that gender bias is part of almost every aspect of life and commonly seen in the social institutions of families, education, the economy, and health. Our own national statistics indicate that more than 50% of all households are headed by single mothers. Those same households face multiple and intersecting forms of discrimination and vulnerability, especially the most socially and economically oppressed, including women living with disabilities. The Caribbean is one of the world's most vulnerable regions to the hazards of climate change. There is a long history of dealing with shocks, exacerbated by its location and high exposure to natural hazards, the consequences of which severely affect our economies and pose threats to the sustainability of economic growth. The plight of our womenfolk in the wake of COVID-19 speaks volumes. Here in our own federation, we have seen increased rates of domestic violence and the disproportionate burden of unpaid domestic work and care responsibilities. Thankfully, with the support from our friends from Taiwan, we have been able to effect a training program for women, creating opportunities for entrepreneurship. Despite the challenges faced, women's active contribution in building resilient communities is well documented. In this regard, the Ministry of Social Development and Gender Affairs, at its International Women's Day Awards ceremony being held later today at Heroes Park, will honor women who have made significant contributions in the areas of science, the digital, blue, and green economies, and the COVID-19 response and recovery. We recognize that the input of women is essential to ensure participation in decision-making processes that affect their lives, including protection and provision for marginalized groups. The recently completed documentation of the St. Kitts and Nevis Gender Equality Policy and Action Plan was approved by Cabinet only last week and will be tabled in our Parliament at its next sitting. This is testament of the government's commitment to gender equality and non-discrimination in the accomplishment of sustained growth and development in our small twin island state. In addition, St. Kitts and Nevis identifies with the 2030 Agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals, which provides opportunities to address some of our region's most urgent priorities, and which requires the engagement of all sectors to create peaceful and fair societies for our present and future generations. I close, therefore, by encouraging all of us to celebrate our women, to strengthen our support for women's empowerment and increased engagement. Let us continue to break the bias and participate as agents of change. As individuals responsible for our own thoughts and actions, we can collectively build a world that is more inclusive. Happy International Women's Day. Thank you.